All right. We are back for episode 2 with Steph and Pandora, where we spill the psychic tea. And so we are doing another episode. Thank you. Quick shout out to all my friends who listened to the first episode and all of, Pandora's fans. We appreciate it. And we thought it was finally time to do a second episode, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been hearing from a lot of people that we should. So yeah, it's about time.
All right. So before we kind of get started into the questions, I just thought I would let folks know that last week I was back home in the Midwest and I had the pleasure of hanging out with Pandora for a little Saturday afternoon, and it was awesome. We got to celebrate Pandora's birthday, which
It
was
was
2 weeks
so
ago.
fun.
Yeah, it was so fun and got to hang out with her dogs and just, reconnect in real life. It had been like, I don't know, what would you say, a year?
Yeah, it's been about a year and I think we had a lot to chat about and some amazing desserts that you brought. Thank you again.
Yeah, quick shout out to the Division Farmers Market. It was so good. So nice to be back. So,
Yes. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And so I think with that, kind of my first question, like I said, it was awesome to be back home in the Midwest and in Chicago, and it's just such a vibrant and beautiful city. But I always have to laugh being back because there's some of these places that are like institutions, restaurants, bars, shops that have been around for decades, and they're just like always there. And then there's also places that you see them like close after a year and they just cannot keep their doors open past a year. And I'm always like, is it something with the building? Is it something with the address of the building? Or is it the street corner it's at? Like, I'd love a psychic take on what's with these buildings and establishments that can A, last for decades versus ones that are just like a revolving door. They're constantly not being able to make it, even if they put money into the marketing or the sales pitch or, having the best menu or team. So would love your take on that type of thing when it comes to the cities and the businesses that are there.
Yeah, for sure. So what I've noticed energetically with some of the places where that's happening that I've seen, even in like my neighborhood, like Lakeview in Chicago, is that certain buildings tend to attract startup businesses. So they attract businesses and people who have big lessons with needing to get their business plan together, needing to get their lives on track to be successful. So the lessons that they walk into might not be connected to that address specifically, but to the energy of that building that's there to be like their school, to get them to upgrade their business plan, really challenge them to make it through that first year of business when most of them fail. Does it make sense when I say it that way?
Yes. Yeah, it does.
I mean, there is also potentially a numerological aspect. So, numerology, you add the numbers from left to right together, and then you make it as small as you can. So, if the address is 1111, then that's a four, right? So, we'd look at the aspect of the number four. In the case of a business, four would be great because that's solid foundation, right?
Yeah.
But if it's like 2300, so 2 plus 3 equals 5, 5 is a little bit riskier. 5 is like a gambling kind of number. And usually that's not the best number. If somebody asks me in a session about opening a business, I would not suggest that address if this is your first time doing business somewhere. So
Interesting.
yeah, but if you can look at the history of a property before you were to go into it, if you were a business owner wanting to rent somewhere, and you see that there have been 4 or 5 restaurants that have had a 1 year lease in that location, no, that's showing you that it's a learning energy to that property rather than the one that is going to support their ongoing success.
Hmm. Oh, that's so interesting, especially because where I live, there's a ton of commercial properties that are vacant, and it's just kind of sitting there, and you're always wondering, is something coming or going? And why is it that things can't make it? So it makes sense that they are kind of some lessons to be had from a business standpoint.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's really interesting though, because then you look at some of the businesses that are so well established that they've been there for 60, 70 years, right? Or sometimes more. because they're doing the right thing and the owner is in harmony with the energy of the building. That's the other thing too, is that some addresses, some buildings will attract people who have that good, rooted, solid energy because they don't want the turnover. They want to have someone who's going to take care of them. The buildings have energy, right?
Mm. Yeah, and I guess maybe if we take it a step deeper, it also can depend on like the intentions of the owner, right? If they're just trying
Yes,
to get a quick fix or if they are really putting their heart and soul into a business.
correct.
Mm.
Yep. It's always good, it's always good to have a plan, a bigger plan, not just an outline, not just I like food, so I want a restaurant. Like those are the ones that usually don't have the structure to keep them going.
Yeah, that is so fascinating. Because like I always love going back to Greek Islands, which is one of my favorite, Greek restaurants in Chicago. Shout out to Greek Islands. And there's
Mine too,
something
I approve.
and there's just something so comforting about going back to like a place that's been there for years and like the menu's the same, the food is still great. And so it's one of those things that really keeps me rooted back to being like, okay, I'm back home in Chicago. I'm gonna go to Greek Islands. So it's those types of things where if that place would be gone, I'd be like, well, shit, where am I going to next? Because
Right,
so,
exactly. And I mean, that restaurant specifically has all the energy of celebration and tradition, right? So, and
mm,
heart. So ultimately, that's like for me, it's my heartbeat. When I go there, it's like, oh my gosh, I remember all these other memories and times that I've been here my whole life, right?
yeah,
So, same for you.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's what makes, going back to Chicago so comforting is because of those places that are still there. But then when you get the new stuff, that kind of keeps it exciting too, and you get to like explore and and fall back in love with the city again or a place again when there is something new. But it's those places that don't change that kind of keep it feeling like home. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. I agree. We need more of those places. We need more people who are doing good business, who are bringing value to the neighborhoods, uplifting them?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess to follow up on that question too, one thing that I always wondered from like a psychic take is when you're out in the wild, whether you're, at the airport or at a, random bar in maybe a different city and you run into someone kind of what can we take away from the universe? That happened to me last week where I was out just shopping and I ran into an old coworker friend and I got to meet his son. And so it was one of those that was I almost like when he said my name, I had to like my brain almost short circuited being like, okay, who is this person again? How do I know them? What's their name? And then it was like, oh my God, yes, of course, da 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 da. And it was always it's so fun when you see someone out in the wild like that. That's an old friend. But I would love to know your take from like a universal sign of how we should interpret something like that.
Most of those signs are us reconnecting with a period of our lives that we need to go back to kind of plug into it. Like that person for you had an energy that you needed at that time, and the same you for them.
Mm,
So you both needed that spark, that reminder of, oh my gosh, this is great. So it sort of re-energizes that little circuit in your brain, right? Other times when we run into someone that is maybe not so friendly or a negative experience, it can be a reminder of something unhealed within us, especially depending on the type of emotion or energy that it brings up. But I like to look at it like from above, like lift up above it and look at it from a higher perspective, which is we're all still connected. The people
hmm
that we connect with in this lifetime, no matter how small or short the connection, we were meant to have that connection. Sometimes it's just because we recognize them. There's something in there that reminds us of ourselves in that person or in that connection, right? So it's very interesting. I find that I have a tendency to run into people that I don't expect to, but that I need to. So if you look a little bit deeper into those moments, what was it that you needed? Was it that you needed maybe that day to be surprised or to be remembered? or to maybe connect to where you first met this person and how far you've come since then, to
Mm,
use them as like a measuring tool to your
yeah.
personal growth.
Yep. Yeah. And I think what's to piggyback off of that too, I think it's always so funny, because for me, if I would see someone I went to high school with, depending on who it is, I'd either be excited or I'd like run for the hills. And so I think that is such a good reminder too of like thinking about what that point in time was like when you run into that person in the wild. So
Exactly. Because I will say, I think a lot of people use signs coming through social media with running into somebody or somebody's name coming up as a friend suggestion or whatever as a bigger sign than maybe they're really meant to be. But when we run into someone physically, think about the timing that universe has to create the opportunity to get two humans in the exact spot at the exact moment, right?
yes, yes, incredible. And I've had it
Hmm.
happen internationally before, which is oh, that's really when my mind gets blown.
That is so cool. I love it because you are such an international traveler. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's like when it's always like, how the hell are we in the same spot at the same time, totally unplanned? Like that's where I'm always like, this is amazing. Um,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It does mean that you're also following the path that universe is laying out in front of you, because I do believe that universe will light up a certain pathway or opportunity for us because there's something there. There's like a jewel on the path that we're supposed to find, like this
Mm,
ultimate maybe a scavenger hunt, right, through
yeah.
life. And if you follow the energy rather than pushing against it like a fish swimming upstream where there's resistance, if you follow the path that opens up, then you are likely to find those jewels,
Mm,
good people, those good connections.
yeah. I always thought of it just as like, oh, it just means I'm like on the right path. I'm like in flow if I ran into someone random that I know. So yeah, I think that really correlates to what you're saying too. So
Have fun.
yeah. And then I think to another quick comparison between like my time in Chicago versus San Francisco where I live now, going to switch gears to the AI. So here in the Bay, we are bombarded with billboards and all this advertising, and I'm constantly being told to use AI at work and Gemini and ChatGPT, all the things. But when I was in Chicago, it was honestly kind of refreshing where I didn't have or at least maybe I didn't notice it, the billboards and the ads for AI. And I would just love to get kind of your psychic take on like what are we doing with AI? What's going to happen in the future? Just what your general thoughts are on it.
So AI is definitely here to stay. But
Yeah.
I feel like people are kind of taking it as the gospel truth and they're not checking their references. So, in the good old days, if we had to do a report for school, we'd have to check our references and state our references to make sure that they were valid, right?
Yeah.
But people are like, hey, this machine just told me that this is the right answer to my question. So they take it and run with it. I feel like people are going to hit more roadblocks with that. There are going to be bigger lessons with that as it goes on because AI is learning constantly, right? But it doesn't always learn from the best sources.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we got to be really careful what we're believing, just like with news coming at us, what AI is giving us back, we've got to pay attention to that. And I have noticed that some clients of mine have asked me questions about what their I'm going to say the name of one of them, just their chat GPT is telling them, because they've been using it as sort of like I don't want to say a journal necessarily, but they've been using it a bit more like a therapist or
Mm,
a social worker and
yeah.
getting feedback and ideas from AI. Now, when it comes to that, AI is not a licensed professional. So the ideas that come through, I mean, it could be like talking to a trusted friend, right? But it's not as valuable as going to a licensed professional. So I'd be careful with where you're getting your advice from. truly with AI, because it's some clients have run into big problems with that.
Mm. Yeah, and I love using it to plan my trips and for recipes. Like I'll walk around the grocery store and be like, I have this at home. What's a recipe I can make with it? And that's like where it's so easy. But to your point, it could be pulling from anywhere if I'm asking something more serious, whether it be like a medical question or, having
Hmm.
to look up something related to, I don't know, where I need like an actual factual source. So that would be challenging for sure.
Yeah, and I know that some people have gotten in trouble with AI creating books for them and plagiarism. So, it's easy for us to say, "Oh my gosh, look, AI speaks for me so well," but then you don't look at it and run it through other things to make sure that it's not just completely plagiarized somebody else's work.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty intense. So,
it is.
everything needs to come with, caution labels
Yeah,
these
yeah.
days.
Well, and like we have training at work that we can take to learn how to use AI too. So it's like it is coming with a training for us, but it isn't coming with a caution label like it should.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're doing trainings. I mean, that's important,
Yeah.
because when people do things willy-nilly, and also when there are aspects to AI where it's like, turn me into an action figure. It's fun. It's a game, and now we trust it because it made that picture pretty or whatever. We kind of think it can do everything, but always. So be
Mhm.
careful. Just like you wouldn't ask a person on the street their opinion of something, don't necessarily go to an AI source to get your answer without double, triple checking.
Yeah. Yeah, use your discretion, I guess, is ultimately the take
Exactly,
when it
exactly. It
comes
can't
to it.
replace everything. And it also really isn't supposed to replace thinking on your own and creating on your own. People have gotten a little lazy.
Yeah.
We want
Yeah.
instant, and we don't use our brains the same way that we used to. So, the other thing that, and I know I'm speaking exactly for my mother now, she, when I was a kid, would always talk about how the world wasn't coming from the same base of knowledge. So, like, even just the books that she had to read in school, the classics, I didn't have to read in school. And then we look now to what's being read in school or what's being censored in school. So there isn't the same base of knowledge that was here 100 or 150 years ago. But we've got AI leading us in new directions, right? So some of the new
Mhm.
directions are good, but having a whole bunch of humans who don't have the same base of knowledge is a little risky.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to like writing like a book report or any sort of report, we're just going to go back to paper and pencil because how can a teacher or a college professor like actually prove that, any student today has did their own work, to be honest.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And how many people can actually pull out a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen and write?
That's also
With
very true. I know.
right? Without their hand cramping after like a
Yeah.
minute.
It's true. Yeah, and I like love I still write like my work notes on paper and pen and sometimes if it's been a couple days, I feel like I have to like jog my freaking hand again on like how to write. It is really funny.
It is. It is. But you know what? That's okay. These are the things that we've got ahead of us now that we can work around. We just have to be careful. Like I think people can tell when it's AI. If you write it yourself versus AI, no matter how good AI gets, I still think that people can tell. If they trust and listen with their hearts versus just their brains, I think they can tell the difference. I don't know about you, but I think they can.
I, I think yeah, I don't know. I wrote actually I had it write something at work for me this week and it was so like uplifting and inspiring and my coworker's like, "Oh my God, Stephanie, this was so nicely written." And I was like, "It wasn't me. It was our internal AI. I can't take any credit because it would like the voice of it would never come from like my voice in terms of writing." So I think you're definitely right. Like you can get a sense when it's AI written versus like coming from an actual person based on the voice of the writing.
Yep. So that's one more way that you can test your intuition, guys.
Yep. Yep.
Really, just plug into it. Does it feel like the person that you know wrote it? Or does it feel just a little bit different?
I think the other thing too that's kind of scary is that when you interact with it more, it kind of learns you. And so I feel like sometimes I take what they say with a grain of salt as well, because I'm like, you're just telling me what I want to know because I've just trained you into submission, this AI system.
Ah,
So,
absolutely. Yes. Yes. I mean, which can be good or it can be really, really bad, depending on what you're training it to do, right?
yep, yep, exactly. All right. Well, I think my kind of final question, and then we'll do a card pull theme for the month of August, is really around, what are some of the general themes that your clients are asking you or you're seeing with some of the most recent readings that you've had?
Okay, so over the last year and a half, 2 years, there's been a really big theme of clients getting frustrated, looking for love, and I would say looking for love in all the wrong places. That old song. Because what they were doing with apps and online dating, especially during the pandemic, when people were contained and were scared, they're not even finding that kind of payoff, right? So during the pandemic, I had a lot of clients who were finding short-term relationships, fun distractions. Now they're not even finding that. So they're having to go out into the real world and find new opportunities to connect with people. So that's a really challenging thing because people
Mm,
are very disappointed in
hmm.
the apps and the online dating. And all of a sudden now they have to go back to basics. What do you mean I need to go to the corner bar or go to an art gallery opening and actually talk to people, make eye contact, shake a hand? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one of the big trends. And the other thing is that I'm finding that people are wanting to change jobs and expand their careers. I mean, that's sort of an whole life thing, right? Except that they are finding that when they do that, they're only going to one source to try and find the jobs. So I have some
Mm.
people who exclusively just send their resume to people on LinkedIn and they
Oh,
never try any other source and they get very limited in their thinking and very depressed that nobody on LinkedIn is getting back to them. I'm like, no, you have to expand your search. You have to get creative.
I
So
would have
basically,
never done
that's
that, to
I
be
know,
honest.
I exactly. I wouldn't either, but
Interesting.
those are the people who are thinking this is my best source because I'll chat with this person for a while, then they'll like me, then they'll consider me for a job. And I'm like, nope, no, no, that's like dating. No, we need to look for a job like a job and look for the dates the other way. So those are the two main things is just people definitely having frustration and having to change the style that they're using to get jobs and also to connect with humans.
Mm. I feel like the connection thing, we're all so starved for it post-pandemic, but I think to a certain degree, we forgot how to, make small talk and like connect with people. And I also think that we all wear like our AirPods or,
Hmm.
headphones, and you just miss out on those random interactions with strangers when you're out and about. So I think that is such a good point.
Yeah, definitely. And people have sort of forgotten how to communicate with each other. And they're it's an obstacle, like even with a text. Well, what do I say? And they'll text hi, and then they'll get frustrated that the other person doesn't text back right away. It's like, no, a
Yes.
real conversation. Pretend in your mind, if you ran into this person on the street, what would you say? How would the conversation go? Okay, now write that in your text field. So yes, we're having to relearn things, take some stuff back to basics, but it's
Ye-
okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
We as a society are learning how to connect again.
And if we don't, we'll just connect with AI.
Exactly.
Our last resort. Um, all right. Should we do a card pull?
Of course. Yeah, I'm gonna use my deck, the Pandora's Box of Cards.
Love
It's an
it.
oracle deck that I created a couple of years ago already. I can't believe it's been a couple of years. And let's just look at what's coming up. I'm going to pull a card for August for the majority of us because I really like getting a little preview of what's coming up.
Yeah, first or
Ah,
second of the month. What do we got?
Well, so I get the harmony, be in tune with others card. On this card, and I'm going to figure out how to put it on the screen somewhere, is an orchestra or a little chamber group playing together.
Oh, I like that.
And this is really, this theme is about being in touch with others. Funny that we were just talking about connecting with
Yeah,
others, but also remembering that you're part of a bigger picture, right? So we have this network that we can connect with and keep expanding out, sort of like having a ripple effect in the world. So you need to harmonize. You need to align your energy with others rather than being opposing or dissonant with them. So stop the fighting, pay attention in August. We're coming out of Mercury retrograde in a couple weeks. You want to
hallelujah.
stay in harmony with how you're communicating with others.
Yeah,
So leave your bad mood at home. Pay attention to how you're communicating, what you're communicating, and ultimately remember that your energy goes out. You can create a bigger ripple, you can create bigger energy, and you will have more people come to you in life, like you, Steph, at the airport when you ran into your friend.
yeah, yeah,
It's because you bring that kind of energy and harmony. So you're out there doing it. If think if we had 100 more people doing it, or 1,000 or 100,000.
amazing. I also just like laugh because it's just such a perfect card for what our conversation was like. You just
Exactly.
like, oh my God, you're kidding me here. Like hysterical.
Yes, it's perfect. It's perfect. Well, I'm so glad that we got to chat again and spill some psychic tea.
Me
And
too.
I hope we do it soon. I don't want to
Yeah,
wait
and I
so
got
long
my
next time.
I've been drinking my piping hot green tea as well. So yeah, until next time, we'll definitely do a third episode. We'll see when we can get our stars aligned and our schedules aligned to do it. But this was so fun. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you too. And make sure to subscribe and leave a comment if you have some questions for us to cover in the next podcast episode.
Yeah, love to.